Hi all, this is a review of a couple of euro pound trades I did today. A bit over an hour before the New York session started. So my analysis starts from the weekly, and in the weekly, this euro pound is on one of my potential weekly mover picks for a buy. And that's because overall this is a sell to me, but I am anticipating some sort of small pullback to happen on the weekly, which if I catch it on a lower time frame is a decent amount of profit potential. So I'm interested in this setup specifically because I see how strong the sellers appear to be coming down, but then there's no real follow through yet. So if I go to, and it's happening at a logical area of support. Now, if I go down to the daily, I think the story makes a little bit more sense. I see this strong candle, the strong seller's candle in appearance only though, because they were only able to make a marginal lower low. If I count the wicks, reacting from a logical buyer's area, buyers are holding another strong sell candle, but where's the follow-up? The follow-up is extremely weak, and I think there's about just less than 12 hours, maybe how much, 4, 6, 7, maybe about 7 hours to go till this daily candle closes. So this is looking very, very good to me. The setup is not complete. Ideally, I would wait to see that this candle definitely does not break this low, and then the next daily candle should start to make its way up. Then the setup is really confirmed. But as long as I can catch this on a lower time frame along the direction I'm anticipating, I think it should be fine. So that was what I was looking to do. I was trying to catch the buy. Now my first entry on this was terrible because I just focused too much on this piece of price action and not enough on this piece, which is very clearly a range, and I was buying right in the middle of the range, in fact even a bit closer towards the resistance of the range. So that buy logic was based on the 3 minutes over here. So I was anticipating that, oh, okay, sellers have come down and then buy, and then they seem to react very strongly from this resistance. So that's when I hit the buy with the stop losses over here. But that's just a bit illogical, because sure, I know that in some situations the setup of strong sells down reacting from buyer's area and showing a reaction works, but not in this case for two reasons. Number one, there were sellers building up their positions over here, and they built up their positions for quite a while. And number two, of course, this overall range happening over here means that I should be trading closer to the extremes, not right in smack bang in the middle. So that was the mistake in the entry, but I think I managed this trade quite well. So immediately after my entry, the price started to go down, and once I realized, hey, I've just done a terrible entry, this is a range, I actually moved my stop loss from here to over here. And this was still within my risk limits, because I usually risk 1% on a trade, but that's my maximum risk on a trade, 1% of my account. But every time I estimate my stop loss and everything, I always leave a buffer. So that means I overestimate my stop loss distance, and hence I get an underestimated position size, and so I always have a little bit of buffer to move my stops, to extend my stops if I need to. So in this case, I did do that once I realized that the overall thesis makes more sense. But due to the overall thesis, I should actually give the trade a little bit of a chance for the sellers to test deeper before the buy comes back in. So my idea for not cutting the trade immediately and actually letting it perform a little bit was, I see this as a range, so I was expecting that there would be another round of the range, or at least a spike down and then a little bit of a test of this part of the range, which would get me back closer towards my entry so I can cut for a smaller loss. So that was my thinking. Now once I moved my stop loss down here, I went for a walk in the park because I was scheduled to do so. and I managed the trade at the park during my rounds and everything. On the 1 minute, I was just checking it every minute or couple of minutes depending on where the price was. So once price came down over here and started to come back up in a choppy way, but reacting at this resistance, that's when I thought, hey, given the overall story of that this is actually near 15-minute resistance. So I'll just show that. So this was actually at 15-minute support, not resistance. Given that this is actually near 15-minute support, I'm anticipating some sort of reaction, but I anticipated that the sellers would actually come crashing down and take out these tops. I was anticipating a faker, and that the buyers would then move in very strongly. So around this point, when I saw this reaction happening, I anticipated this whole move, this move down and this sharp move up. That's why I moved my stop loss from here to over there, just to give a little bit more space for this spike to happen. And indeed, that's what happened. So I was very happy with my read of the thing, of the price action and the story at this point. And then once sellers started consolidating a little bit over here, I thought, okay, probably they want to test down and test this area, test this fake out before going up. So I actually moved my stop loss initially down to here in case this was going to be a range, because even if this was going to be a range, I had the impression that the buyers have to kick in at some point soon, and therefore give me a better exit price. So I was still thinking of giving some room, even if they tested deeper and nullified basically this fake out. But I decided, no, this fake out is here probably for a reason. That is more likely than not. It is supposed to just test this fake out and go up. If it doesn't, then my read is wrong, and hence I'm a bit stuck. Like, I don't have an opinion. I'll have to reformulate an opinion and all of that stuff. So for that reason, I actually moved my stops back to this area, consistent with my expectations or my anticipations that this is just going to be a test of this fake out before it goes up. So that's indeed what, and I was very happy to see that. Now around this time when price was going up, I saw that on the 3 minutes what this looked like was accumulation, buyers building up their positions, and then they break out, and then they test the breakout area somewhat, and then they start to move up again. But what have the buyers actually achieved in this whole process of building up their positions and making their way up? Have they achieved anything in terms of taking out any resistances? No. They were failing and they were struggling to take out resistance. Therefore, for that reason, I anticipated that this is probably where the sellers would hit the sell again. So I actually got quite a precise view on this. That was when buyers were coming back up, and around this time I actually sat down on a bench in the park to look at it more closely. Buyers were coming back up and holding here for a bit. I was pretty confident that the sell would start soon. And once I saw this move up over here, and when the candle was here, my view was this is not the breakout or anything. The reason being, it just does not make sense for the buyers to just hold over here near sellers if the buyers still have control. For me, I saw this as sellers building positions, and my view on that was even over here, sellers were building their positions. But I still did not exit because I still had a bit of hope that this would perform, which is completely illogical, and it was completely contrary to my analysis and my read and my view at that time. So that's a mistake again. I allowed hope to take over instead of my analysis. So after that fake out happened, again confirming my view, I still did not quit and quit the position. This strong sell came down, and again I was hopeful when I thought, maybe this is the buyers and this is a strong sell down, and once this candle came up over here, maybe the buyers are just collecting some extra liquidity over here before going up. But it still does not make sense from an analysis perspective, objective analysis perspective, because why are they struggling so much near resistance even after all of this building up positions? The most simple explanation is that it's the sellers actually building up their positions right now. So even though I had that analysis there, I was still a bit hopeful, but I finally cut it right there when I got to my senses and got back to my senses and just trusted the analysis. So that looked like it was in the nick of time, because next candle, of course, huge move down. Now, once I got back from the walk, I saw that the buyers were putting their positions again over here. And on the 15 minutes, I saw that this was still near the support area. So I expected some sort of reaction by buyers. And due to the whole overall thesis that this is probably more likely to develop into a buy rather than a sell, I was still looking to buy this. So around this resistance, I saw that this candle really interested me because it looks strong. The sellers look very strong on this candle where the vertical line is over here. So let me just draw an arrow, that might be easier. So this candle, it looks like the sellers are very strong at that, but what are they able to achieve? They aren't able to achieve anything, and they just stop. So those are, to me, like trap candles, and I'm very interested in trading against those candles. So I went down to the 3 minutes and I saw what that looked like, and I see now that this is probably like a rollover happening. So this to me was a rollover, and I wanted to catch that rollover. I went down to the 1 minute, and I thought, okay, buys come up really strong, so getting some extra liquidity over here, creating a bit of a fake out, sweeping of these stop losses if there are any over there, and then sellers come in, make a higher low, and as these buys and once I saw these buys react from this fake out area, I got in on the buy a little bit early again, because my view was buys still need to accumulate positions before this buy happens. But at that time I thought, okay, maybe this is sufficient time for them to accumulate positions. But I still have my stop loss below the area where my thesis would be invalidated. I probably could have had my stop loss a little bit tighter if I'm really being strict on when exactly my thesis would be invalidated. But I think this is a very logical level, a very safe stop loss given the whole story. So I sat through all of this sideways movement, and I was very happy to see that, actually, because that confirmed that gave me more and more confidence in my thesis that buyers are just building up their positions near a buyer's area. It just does not make sense to me that sellers would build up their positions over here. If sellers were putting up their positions, they would do so at sellers' areas, not at buyers' areas. So I was confident that this was accumulation. So after this breakout and after this candle that tested the breakout area, I thought, maybe now the buyers will perform, but they didn't. And at this point I thought, well, this is my overall thesis is still quite active, and this was a strong breakout, so maybe the buyers need one more test of this breakout area. So that's why I moved my stop losses back up to this area over here, because my thesis at that time was, okay, I'm only going to allow for a test of this breakout area. If it comes down any lower, creating a bit of a range, then I can anticipate that the price will actually go down lower to grab some extra buy liquidity and sweep out some stops like they did over here before the buy happens. So that's why I had my stop loss there, which I think was a very logical move. Now and then of course the price just went up and got to the target area. My target area was based on this over here. This was a 15-minute resistance, and this was an very appropriate target, which means I learned from my previous trade last week, either pound US or Bitcoin dollar. So that was good to see. So I think that trade was generally based on a good read. Currently my view is on the 4-hour I see accumulation happening. I see some buyers building up their positions. It's even clearer on the 1-hour and even clearer on the 15 minutes. So I'm really interested to catch this buy. I probably missed some chances over here, but I was busy with something else. But I did not want to catch it too early, because I still thought buyers need to build up their positions. At least they need to see some accumulation, show some accumulation on the 4-hourly perspective. So I'm still waiting. Okay, so thanks, and comments and questions are very much welcome.